Hi everyone, and welcome to International Women's Day 2023. My name is Angela Kim, the Ambassador of Women in AI, and it's such an honor to have you as an audience today. I'd like to start with acknowledging. I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal of the Eora Nation, the traditional constituents of this land, and pay my respects to the elders, both past and present. I'd like to have just a quick statement to acknowledging amazing women here. Do you know what does WOW mean? Wonder of Women. So we have amazing male champions here who are here to celebrate with us together. They are wonder of man. And without you guys' support, we won't be here. And we have amazing listeners to panelists today. And it's going to be very interesting and very exciting conversation to celebrate why it's so important. So again, welcome everyone. And I'll pass on to amazing Harris, the director of UNSW AI Institute, and I'll pass over to you.
Thank you, Angela. I won't say too much because we have a very exciting panel here. I'll just say just a few words. So at UNSW AI and UNSW in general, we really value these EDI initiatives. We're very proud of our members, especially our female members who are at the forefront of AI research. Our host today, Flora Salim, is one of our star researchers. There are several others who have been very active in the Women in AI network as well. So only about a few weeks ago, we had a conversation with Angela about this event. And when Angela proposed this event, we immediately went with it. And it's really exciting to have this panel here. At UNSW, we have several women and tech initiatives. So Rita Henderson, who is here, we're happy to have her here. If you want to talk to her more about some of these initiatives, please talk to her after this panel discussion. I won't take more time. I really look forward to this very exciting panel. I'm very thankful to all these distinguished speakers to be present here and looking forward. Thank you so much.
All right, so thank you everyone for being here. It's so exciting. So it's 8th of March. It's a special day, not just for women. Look at all the special women around here, but also thank you for all the men here who's been supporting us all the way. And what a special panelists we have. So everyone here sitting in front of us, they are trailblazers, and they've been doing a lot of amazing stuff to actually get here. So we have a really amazing lineups here, and I'm just going to read out your names and your title, but I'll get each of you to do your introduction about yourself. So first we have Kate Carruthers, Head of Business Intelligence and UNSW AI. So I'm just reading that based on last name. Vicky Liu, the VP and GM and partner ecosystem APAC and IBM. And we've got Stella Solar, the Director of National AI Center of CSR Data 61. We've got Sonal Solana, General Manager and Chief Data Analytics Office of CBA, and Associate Professor Fatami Fadai. Sorry if I don't pronounce it correctly. Deputy Director of uDash. So thank you all. So first of all, I've got a question to kick off. And just to let everyone know, we'll have a roving mic at the end of this as well. So please prepare a question. So each of you is a leading expert in your field, or you've been an entrepreneur, or you've been in business using AI, tech, and also science. So you've gone through quite a journey to get here to where you are. So can you tell us a bit more about, how did you start your journey and how did you get here to date? So who would like to start? Or maybe just also introduce a bit about what you do right now. Maybe I'll start.
Sure, we'll go in row order maybe. So I'm Stella Solar. I lead the National AI Center, and my journey into technology was an accident. I think some of you have probably heard my story already. For those who haven't, I was going to be a film composer, and I played cello and piano. I loved the creative arts. I was putting on plays. I was writing music for film and theatre, and that's what I was going to do as a career. I studied Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Arts at UNSW, and in the commerce part, it was all about business strategy, economic strategy, international business, and on the arts side, it was film, theatre, philosophy, music. So nothing pointed to a career in technology. And after I finished my undergraduate, I needed to get a job, and so I was just applying, trying to get a job. I felt really unemployable. Even though now that I look back, having a commerce and arts degree is actually pretty employable, but I felt really unemployable. I think that's just the fear of entering the market. And so I accepted the first job that came my way. I was thrilled over the moon that I got a job, and it happened to be in tech. It was for a startup. And I mean, I had never worked in technology before. I didn't have a technology background, but I learned on the job. It was in inside sales. It was a bit of a softer start into tech. And I actually think it's a really effective entry point for folks from other disciplines to get into tech. So from inside sales, I then moved into product management. I then moved closer into partnerships, into solution design, and working closer with the engineering teams. And over time, I found that I was really passionate about connecting technology to business outcomes and business audiences. And I found that all of my study up until then that involved thinking about business strategy and business value, as well as the creative aspects, they all actually converged and helped me become a translator for businesses and someone who could help businesses evolve their business model. So I worked on a lot of transformations around IoT transformations for businesses, where they were changing how they provided their SLAs for customers, and worked on some designs for large manufacturers and how they were deploying the digital transformation. And through that path, throughout my tech career, I basically picked up short courses, was mentored on the job. That was my tech learning. It was actually when I started my career. And so that's quite a non-linear path, but I actually think it's a really effective entry point for people from other disciplines to enter in kind of a sales engagement partnership role and then move from there. And that's been my experience since.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Stella. So I'm associate professor at the School of Biotechnology and Biomolecular Sciences at UNSW Sydney. My background has nothing with biology and biotechnology. I'm by background computer scientist. I received my bachelor in software engineering and my PhD in computer science, artificial intelligence, back at University of Illinois in Chicago. Then after that, with a mentor, that if you would have time, I will sort of brief that afterwards. I have been directed to the field of biomedicine, biology, and medical domain, which was completely new to me. I have nothing and know nothing about biology, neither about genome or cell, and what is really a nucleus within cell. But that was the beginning of a new journey. I have been inspired with that field and with the fact that what AI can do in the field of biomedicine and biology, and what are the impacts that can be driven by that. I started my journey 13 years ago in the field of computational biomedicine or AI-driven biomedicine. It was quite hard and tough pathways coming from completely different fields. But as of now, I am, as I said, an associate professor in the School of Biology. And as described by others, I am a computer scientist who speaks biology. And also deputy director of UNSW Data Science Hub, and also quite interested and also quite advocate of entrepreneurship and translational research, and has been founding CEO of a startup company called Unison AI. Yeah, this is for me.
Thank you. I am Becky Liu. I'm the Vice President and General Manager for IBM. I look after 15 APAC countries for IBM channels. So for me, I always wanted to be in science ever since I was small. So it's quite natural for me, going to university study computer science. I did my bachelor in computer science. I did my master's in computer science. So after that, when I graduated in 2002, that's right around the time when .com boom or .com bubble, if you will, right? So it's quite natural for me to go into the e-commerce, get some .com fever, right? So I wanted to work for a manufacturing behemoth, really. I started in IT department. I was really, really lucky that I got to be in charge of the e-commerce project. It's an internal project, right? I got to lead a team right after school to develop this internal e-commerce application, right? So we went through the design from the scratch, right? We built it up. It's quite exciting. So after 3 years, right, I figured I wanted to do something else, right? At that time, IBM was really into the data is the beginning time of analytics, right? Really into data management, the data integration, the whole information management perspective and data science, beginning days of data science, right? And I wanted to do it so badly. So IBM was the only company I wanted to work for at that time. So it was quite hard to get into it. It took me quite a few tries, but eventually I succeeded. So that's how I started. So 21 years in IT, 16 years with IBM, 5 years outside IBM. So it's quite a journey. The 16 years at IBM, I changed jobs like 5-10 times. Yeah, it's, even if you stay with one company, you can still do different things. So even to this day, I'm still not bored yet. Every day something different. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you. I'm the Chief Data and Insights Officer at the University of New South Wales, and I'm also the Head of Business Intelligence for the AI Institute, and also an adjunct senior lecturer in computer science and engineering. But I have no qualifications in computer science and engineering. So I, like Stella, started out doing an arts degree. So I did history, philosophy, and anthropology. I don't know how this happened to me. But I too had to go and get a job, and I ended up in banking and finance. And I started using computers, and I was like, oh, these are quite good. And I never touched one. I was not interested in them at school, hadn't ever wanted to play with them. But when I had a reason at work to make my life more efficient, I really liked them. So I ended up moving into IT in banking and finance. So I worked in different roles, software engineering, project management, enterprise architect. So very career there. Eventually working as an IT manager and CIO. And then I decided that was boring. So I moved into marketing. So I was doing digital marketing, e-commerce stuff. And then I was offered a 6-month contract at UNSW as the engineering IT manager to manage all their high performance computing and stuff. And I went there 10 years ago, still there. And I really love it because the mission of the university really appeals to me because it's all about inventing the future. It's about growing young people, helping people to research and develop minds. So I love it there. And when I was offered the role of Chief Data Officer, I could really see that the future of digital transformation was all about data. And so that role really appealed to me. And so we've spent the last 5 years, lining up all of our data so that we'd be ready when AI was ready. And we're in pretty good shape to do that. And with the start of the AI Institute, I was really keen to get involved. Because it seems to me to be the future and we need to do it properly, and that's sort of part of my passion. So that was my career, strange career.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. I'm Sonal Solana. I am General Manager with the Chief Data Analytics Office at CDA. So certainly, I think as everybody else on the panel, data analytics and AI happened very much by chance. Data scientist, being a data scientist is at the top end of the most sought after jobs today, but that certainly wasn't the case 2 decades ago when I started my career. So I grew up in India. I had a strong affinity for quantitative subjects. I got introduced to computer programming. I really enjoyed it. Took on courses, was pursuing my master's in business administration, and was aiming for the more traditionally sought after consulting and investment banking kind of roles. So very much by exception, and only because it was based in Germany, I applied to a role, which was the credit risk function in GE Money Bank, and landed that. And that's what sort of started my journey with data analytics and AI. really opened up sort of a world of possibilities, literally. So moving from India to Europe, so moved back to India, worked very closely with the US, and now here in Australia. It's been an incredible last 2 decades. So the starting role when I joined GE Money was in the space of collection strategy. So I started working with early and late stage collection models, working with behavior scorecards for the retail lending portfolio. Spent 6+ years with GE, got fast track promotions, and took on to grow into a larger role there. My daughter was 1.5 years when we felt it's easier to be back home with family, and that's where we moved back to India. I joined Barclays and spent 3 years or so with Barclays, again focusing on credit risk and Western Europe as an overall market, with a lot of focus on the mortgage and home buying portfolios. A couple of years in, I got an opportunity to work with Citi, India business that was bringing in a lot of new learning dimensions. It was getting me from the European market to India market, from credit risk to more of marketing analytics, and thinking about wealth products instead of credit products. So I think just the role was extremely attractive with all of the new learning and dimensions. Did that for a couple of years. Then joined Amex, 7 years or so spent with Amex, building out the digital insights suite for our commercial customers. And about a year ago now, joined Commonwealth Bank here in Australia. Really excited to be here. I lead out CommBank AI, which is an accelerator hub within the bank, really to fuel our ambition of becoming a global leading AI bank. I think it's a super exciting phase. A year plus ago, we invested in a strategic partnership with H2O.ai, which is a Silicon Valley leading AI organization, and together with that partnership, really trying to say how do we drive AI at scale within the group. So super exciting. I think on smaller companies. I think over the 2 decades, AI has changed dramatically. When I started with SaaS and logistic regression and very traditional, and AI today looks very, very different. I think it's been tremendous to see that revolution, and it's glad to sort of see that becoming much more bolder in aspiration, much more center stage of organization strategy. And we feel like it's only the beginning of the fast-paced evolution that we're seeing in recent times. A lot of exciting times ahead. Sure.
Thank you. So this year, IWD team is cracking the code, right? So I'm just wondering, early in your career, that has been quite fascinating to hear about. Has there been a specific code about women in science, women in STEM, or in your career that you feel that you have to either comply or you have to actually crack? And at what point in your career you feel that you managed to, breakthrough, have that breakthrough? Anyone want to share?
One of the codes that I had to crack was actually myself, because I thought that I was not into STEM for the longest time. I was one of those students through primary and high school who actually thought I was bad at maths and bad at science. And so I actually avoided it. I ended up, and being a musician, you can load your units towards more of the creative stuff. But I found that it was actually more my own perception bias. So I've gone through a bit of a renaissance in my own learning where I've rediscovered STEM. And I think my cracking the code within myself has been finding the STEM in things I love. So I think quite often we talk about STEM in very siloed ways and in very dry ways. And for me, I now see STEM all around us in everything that we do, experiences, industries. And so when I realized that STEM and creativity could be connected, one of the things that I tackled was through my career was also imposter syndrome of entering a technology field without technology training. No matter how much on-the-job training I would get, it always felt like I was missing something. And so then when I realized that I could do a master's, and I did actually end up completing a master's that combined my creative interests with technology depth and STEM, only then did I realize that actually I love STEM. And I wish I had cracked that perception within myself earlier on. And now I see STEM all around me. I also sail, but if someone had explained to me that sailing is physics and hydro lift and wave width goes through the sails. I really feel I would have acted differently towards STEM in my early careers. And I probably would have chosen subjects differently, I think, if I had connected STEM into the things I enjoyed. So that was, I realized that's not so much the outside, but it cracked something in me that created a confidence to move forward. That was my breakthrough. Self-discovery, isn't it? Yes.
So I would like to take it a bit differently. So I have been lucky enough to grow up in a family that was quite supportive. My father, although we have been in a culture that predominantly sons were more favored as compared to girls, my father always saying that if I would have 10 kids, I would love all of them to be girls. So we have been very sort of supported, and there was these types of feeling within our household, which I have only one sister, so we are just 2 girls. Didn't get into 10, but my dad was telling repeatedly to us that whatever you want, you can achieve, but you just need to try. And while I was in like high school, was dreaming to go to Harvard and have my higher education best in the world and make impact. Like it was my like teenager dreams at that time. And growing up, although I have been always in environment that was male dominated, so I have been in AI laboratory during my PhD, the only female student within our whole school of computer science. There have been less than 5 females across any field, so quite male dominated. But I have been grown up with a personality that you can do it, and you will, and you need to break barriers, and has quite a lot of self-confidence. But I have been observing that my colleagues, my female friends are suffering from imposter syndrome. They have lack of support. So saying that I had a very, very supportive partner as well, who has been taking really load and supporting me throughout my journey. And I wanted to share that with my friends, with my female colleagues, that they didn't have necessarily that support. So early on, when I was younger, I was trying to build some sort of local networks and trying to help them to sort of really believe themselves and step into unknowns. And I, as I grow up, I become quite more active in more decision-making roles in EDI commitments, and have developed very strong sort of beliefs that diversity is a source of innovation. While we want to support females for the justice and to have a just society and equitable society, but it's the root of innovation as well. Without having diversity, we won't be able to innovate enough. So it's not just for the favor of females, for the favor of whole society, to be able to bring female into STEM, into technology. And I try to have my part in that journey and helping others to basically crack barriers that they face.
That was great, really inspiring. And for me, cracking the code, I have to agree with what Stella said. Is more about me, myself, and just the type of person I am, right? Very early in my career, I was often, for whatever reason, offered opportunities. And at the time, I thought it's way beyond my capability. So I said no quite a few times. Till one day, I had a very good manager, and we had a very sort of intense one-on-one. It was like, you were offered amazing opportunities. Any man would have said yes. Only women says no. Now, right. So you need to grow up and really own it. You are offered because people think that you're ready, you are capable, and you can do a job. And we're willing to invest in you. And just say yes. So I said yes. So that's really, looking back, that's a defining moment, right? Sometimes I guess I'm scared. We all have scary moments. Oh my God, I'm such a big job. I'm not ready. I can't do it. I can't do it. I've never done it before. I can't do it. But it turned out that I can, and I could, and I did. So you can too, right? So that's really my defining moment. Give me 3 months, I can be the best in whatever that job is, right? So you can do it. It's just the confidence, right? It takes time. It takes time. And even when you're scared, just do it anyways. Like, be in the room, right? Be part of it, right? So that's my story.
You know, I still don't like maths.
But
But that's the thing, you can still do this work even if you don't like maths. But my husband is a mathematics teacher, high school mathematics teacher, and he came home one day and I was doing some multi-dimensional modeling. He said, "You're doing matrices." And I said, "No, I don't like to think of it that way." He was like, "How can you do that? You can't do maths." And I was like, "This is my job. I do this for a job." But anyway, so I had a really defining moment when I was working just up the road at a large financial services company, and I was an enterprise architect. And we were around a really big board table, all the enterprise architects, and a woman came in to pour coffee for us. And I realized I was the only other woman in the room. And that was the first time I'd ever really become conscious of it, even though it was a really male dominated IT department, because that's what IT departments were. So I've always really consciously tried to do things like take gender out of ads and stuff so that you can get an equal playing field. And with the policies that we've implemented on my team, we've actually had times where it's been 100% female. We've now balanced it up. We've got some men, but the consciousness of it, and just trying to make sure that the candidate pools have a number of diverse people in them, and keep sending them back until you get them. It was just that moment where I had this moment of clarity, like I was literally the only woman at the table. And we need to change that. And one of the things I've become conscious of, even though I hate maths, a lot of the work we do with high schools, we do a lot of women in engineering courses with high schools and stuff. And what we're realizing is talking to them in year 10 or 11 is too late. And we need to be having the conversations with them in years 7, 8, 9. So that they see STEM as a genuinely creative and interesting role that they can do, and seeing women doing it like us is really, really important. And so those women in engineering programs are really great. We've been tracking some of the conversion rates into our engineering programs, and they're really high. So they're really good things. So I really think those sort of, what can you do in your role to change the game? That's how you crack the code.
Wonderful, super inspiring examples. And I think for me, as I reflect, for me as well, cracking the code was even before I began my career. So in India, we have about 20% of women in the workforce relative to 45-47% that you might see in US and Australia. It has progressed dramatically, but over 2 decades ago, the environment was not the same. And a couple of reasons probably that contribute to that. One, the common belief that women should not work outside of the house. Many Indians live in large multi-generational joint families, and women have traditionally played a larger domestic role. And yeah, I think family is number 1 priority for women across the globe, but in a country like India, it becomes a bit more traditional around that. And especially with that context, if you are part of a family that is financially comfortable, and prosperity implies that women don't need to work. So I think that's I grew up in such an environment where I was part of a large business joint family, very loved and protected, where women were traditionally married at the age of early 20s and did not really pursue career ambitions. And that's the environment I sort of grew up in. So really, for me, the cracking the code was getting my family to sort of help me pursue my career ambitions and sort of go on a different path that women in our family had not done before. So I was the eldest grandkid. So also I think it was about setting precedents a little bit. So, growing up, I used to see my dad go to work, and I always, it was not so much an ambition of what I want to become. or how high I want to rise, but just the fact that I want to get to work with the big kids. And, growing up as a kid, like that was the ambition that I was sort of nurturing. So for me, it was really, cracking the code, chipping away bit by bit, getting my, I was academically doing well, always spoke up my class, getting my family to convince to join a computer programming course. There was reservation because it was not an all-girls institute. From there, getting them to agree to my first summer job. I had to convince my dad because I'm teaching computer programming to kids at an institute run by ladies and stuff like that. So making small inroads in that direction, got them to convince to do my MBA. And then finally, when I got the opportunity to move to Germany, I think that was the real breakthrough. Career began when I sort of never looked back. So I think just it wasn't easy, just given it was the first time it was happening. Everybody had to come around. But I think it is, just the environment at that time, and now family is very proud and supportive, and I think that's the journey. But I feel like that was my context, but there might be several other contexts, but that general encouragement to get women to enter STEM fields, I think is critical in that direction.
I actually wanted to comment to something that Kate mentioned, which is getting young people who are in primary and high school exposed to skills in the technology arena. Today, I also happen to be the ambassador of Day of AI, because it's International Women, and we're trying to get more girls to participate in STEM courses. And I was reflecting on my own studies. My year 7 and 8 experience of D&T, Digital and Technology, this class, was I sewed a pencil case, I baked muffins, and I learned to touch type. And then I had to choose subjects, but I had no exposure to technology. And then the time when I did build a website and do a robotics sum, it was too late. I formed an identity in year 10 that I was going to do music. I chose my subjects, 3-unit music, overlapped physics, and music always overlapped sports. So I've never done Saturday sport in my life. But there is something that happens, which is subject selection phase gets you onto this autopilot, and it forms a bit of an identity where then you just keep going and you actually don't know what you're missing out on. And so this last year, Day of AI enabled 23,000 students with immersive technology, and it was year 7 to 10. But even year 7 was shown that the students already have perceptions of what they want to do. And so this year it's being expanded to years 5 and 6 as well. And I really think that we've got to intercept and bring those experiences to young folks so that it enables them to actually have successful careers in the future. 3, I think, on this panel got into tech by accident, but this should not be accidental. This is a thriving industry that we really need skills from the start to contribute to.
Thank you. I got quite a bit and a lot actually from that. So reflecting my own, especially I remember my first job out of uni. After all the other casual jobs I did during uni. I did my bachelor computing and honors as well. And I was a senior software engineer at a software house that delivers software to broadcasting companies, including our local channel 10 and channel 7. And whenever I come and say, with the company says, well, the senior software engineer will come and actually do the software installation and do training. I come in my jeans and my t-shirt, and then people say, oh, are you here for giving us a delivery or something like that? No, I'm your software engineer. Training. You will see the eyes that roll away, and that was very common. That was 2003, so you can tell my age now. But I think I realized, even what you say about having support, having people to challenge that bias in yourself. And I think a lot of us are very lucky to have family and managers who are very supportive. But I think it'll be really good if we want to continue to crack the code to have that culture, right, that actually break away from those biases that's encoding what women should or can or cannot do. So I think it's been really great hearing about that. Now let's move away a bit, change gear, but actually cracking the code of solving real world problems that you might be facing in your industry, in your research. what are some of the cracking that you need to do in your current job? What are some of the things that you feel that you managed to crack something, a grand challenge in your industry or in your work that you're quite proud about and you want to share about it? Yeah, let's do it from here.
Happy to kick off. I think, certainly I would love to share an example. I think the CBA team is super proud of. The example is around detecting and preventing transaction abuse. So it's unfortunate, but when we have customers sometimes sending payments through with a description, some people use that channel to send insult and abuse, and that's sort of really horrible. And one of the things that the team's been working over the last year is leveraging AI to detect patterns in that behavior. So not just text, but patterns, so that we can prevent and identify and stop that abuse. So I think CBA is probably one of the first organizations who sort of leveraging artificial intelligence in that capacity, and we've sort of implemented that alongside digital blocks. But the notion of making that sort of capability, institutionalizing it within the bank, but also thinking about offering that as a capability for wider adoption. That is just as an example, an interesting way in which we're sort of leveraging AI to sort of think about customers and prevent serious conditions.
So for me at the university, we're really focused on the student experience. And one of the things that happened to a relative of mine, a young relative of mine, they signed up at UNSW for a forensics course that needed a lot of science. They didn't have it. They didn't talk to me about it. So they just popped up at the university and I was like, oh, what are you doing here? And they had a really unhappy first year and dropped out. So they failed, bombed out of everything. And it got me thinking, and we started talking with the teachers, and we wanted to be able to predict which students were going to fail a course during the course. So while it was happening, so that we could intervene. And so one of the things that we did was we developed an ML model to do that. And it's now being productionized as we speak. So that's kind of the first step for us, because one of the things we want to do is prevent self-harm, because failing a course is often the first thing in a chain of failing a course, failing a program, self-harm. And what we really want to do is our pastoral care duty of looking after these students. So we've identified the academic failure bit, but we really want to look at all the factors that impact somebody trying to self-harm. So we've done the students at failing bit. We're working on the other bit. So that's something that I'm really proud to be associated with. And one of the things that we're doing is working with the New South Wales government on doing it ethically. So we're adopting their AI principles and stuff to do this kind of work.
Interesting, you mentioned AI for universities and registration, about and so on and so forth. At IBM, we are doing some of those work too, right? As one of the things we recently, one of the big projects we recently cracked is the IBM and AWS, Amazon Web Services, the partnership, right? It took me about a whole year to put the whole program together and get all the parties coming together. It's going to be thousands of people working on this, right? One of the things we're doing is to encourage AI startups to use IBM technology, IBM AI technology. So they take the technology and build real life applications for, AI-driven applications, right? So we're working with many AI startups in India, in China, Taiwan, even in Europe, right? Many countries. We're doing this all together. So it's quite amazing. I get to do two things I love the most together, working with the young people and working AI and technology. A lot of the startups are really tiny ones. Some of the kids just out of university, some even third year, fourth year university students, right? They come up with these amazing business ideas, right? And then they come and convince us if the ideas are good, we support it. So it's really quite amazing to see what young people can do these days. And it's good that big companies are recognizing and supportive of all these initiatives. So if you're interested, just look around, right? There are a lot of opportunities for you to explore in the AI field, boys and girls, young people or young at heart.
Thank you. My field of research is on AI enabled or AI integrated personalized medicine and precision therapy. Personalized medicine has been introduced and basically revolutionized by genomics technologies, which now with the current biotechnologies, we would be able to measure DNA and multiple other molecules in a single run in a very high throughput way. That would generate a huge amount of data, which you are dealing with a whole lot of problems that we have been previously dealing with in machine learning and computer science in general, big data, and much more than P, like the number of variables that you're dealing with, it's more than number of samples, noise, and lack of explainability, a whole lot of different things. So lack of sufficient samples. But on top of that, the area that I would like to sort of further elaborate is that precision medicine and personalized therapy has become quite interdisciplinary. And for us to be able to make impact in that field, we need to work together across very diverse disciplines. Clinicians, with genomics, with biotechnologists, with computer scientists, with a statistician, with chemists, with physics, and to be able to manage such a diverse field of researchers working together is a whole lot of different things that I think if I would have one takeaway of my career pathways would be to be able to learn to work and to manage interdisciplinary teams and work with people across different disciplines, being able to convey my message to them and being able to grasp what they are talking about and putting that together into the context. And I think this is something that would be future of many different fields, that we need to be able to work across disciplines, being able to sort of manage different perspectives and different viewpoints. And I would see that as the most important thing that I could crack over my career.
I'm going to talk about the current thing I'm trying to crack, which is, leading the National AI Center. We have this enormous charter, which is activate positive adoption of AI in Australia. It's huge. And some of the things that we are asked to do is coordinate Australia's ecosystem. No one wants to be coordinated. And so, it's been a realization that while it seems like we might have been quiet for a year, I think there's going to be this sudden surge of activity as of this month that I think will hopefully catch a lot of industry and ecosystem positively by surprise, because it's taken a while to align the strategy elements and then also the funding elements. So we've got this big mission to activate positive adoption of AI by coordinating the ecosystem, but no one wants to be coordinated. So what does that actually mean? So aligning on that strategy. And then the other element is, support demonstration projects with the digital capability centers, but the digital capability centers are also not announced. And so there is, it's been a really interesting juggle to think about the what of what you want to achieve and what you want to crack, and how dependent it is on aligning the how and the supporting infrastructure. And so a lot of our time over the past year has been aligning on the strategy and aligning on the supporting funding and infrastructure to make it happen. And it just really makes you realize how much innovation is dependent on the support, the alignment, the stakeholder engagement, because it just takes a lot of effort. And it takes a lot of alignment, minds coming together. And, I think now a year later, we're about to be in really good shape, and there will be, a world first announcement that is made next week, which I hope everyone can support in this group. But it's taken a year of strategic alignment, funding alignment. And so this is the reality of innovation. It is you know, I think in particular entrepreneurs who need to bring together the funds, the support, it takes a while to make it happen. And it is very much connected to cracking the code, is also cracking the support, the infrastructure, and the alignment to actually make it happen.
Great. So I'm actually going to start from that last thing you mentioned, which is support and resources. So this will be my last question before I throw it to the floor for further questions. If you have all the resources, time, and support that you need in all the work, what is the one grand challenge you want to crack? And you have the ability of bringing people together. So it is time to dream. Your single grand challenge that you want to do. Maybe I should start from Vicky.
That's a tough one. I think the ultimate challenge for me will be the work-life balance. I've always struggled with that. I think in general, women feel more challenged in this area than men. No discrimination towards the men here, but we do juggle quite a lot. I live in Singapore, so on my flight here earlier in the week, right, I saw this young mother with two young children, two girls, probably around age 2 and 5-ish, right? I all of a sudden realized how much I miss my kids when they were small. Right? I didn't have time for them. I grew up in Canada. I had my kids in Canada. In Canada, the maternity leave is about 1 year, right? So my kids started going to daycare at the month, like 10 month, 11 month old, right? And that's where they grow up. Daycare people, I take care of them. I pick them up after work. So yeah, looking back, I think it's just, it's just the way people think, right? The way I think, right? I think, young men, young women, you can't have it all, right? But just, make sure you plan it and you plan it properly and always, put aside the time for yourself and your family, right? I did that. I did the best I could, but I could have done better. So.
It's really interesting to think about the ways that AI can change the world. And I think everybody, now that they've seen ChatGPT, normal people are starting to have a vision for what AI can do. I think that's where seems like the UNSW AI Institute is so important, because it's across university, it's cross disciplinary. And I think that's the thing that will give us the real breakthrough innovations, is bringing people together from really diverse disciplines and diverse histories and diverse cultures, and let the conversations happen. Because it's when you talk to people and you bounce ideas off each other that you get those really interesting breakthrough ideas. And I think that's so important. And that's one of the things I love about the AI Institute, because it's across everybody, and everybody in the university is welcome. It doesn't matter what discipline. So I think we need more places like that for people to have interesting and serendipitous conversations to develop new ideas.
For us, as we think about ambitions, leveraging AI, and if we had all of the resources where we would sort of focus our energies, I think two areas stand out in the space of customer outcomes. I think a big focus for us at CBA is preventing scams. So I know in Australia we've had like customers over $2 billion or so annually. It's just not it's not the right experience for all of our customers. And then what can we do as a group to prevent scams and fraud is a big focus area. Scams are harder to detect, given at the point in time it doesn't seem different to a normal customer transaction. So leveraging all of our, just think about creative ways in which we might address that. And from an organizational standpoint, I think that we are really focusing our energy is democratizing AI. I think with our strategic partnership with UNSW AI, some of the automation learning capabilities, how can we put AI at the front and center of every business problem? How can we get more of the organization to become AI aware, AI literate? We've made a solid beginning. I think there's a lot more to do, but really, I think the idea is, to become a global AI organization. It can only happen if we can really bring all of our people along the journey, and a big focus and really around that ambition.
That's definitely a really hard problem. I saw an article earlier this week about, some people getting scammed because of combination of large language model and deep fakes that people, accepting, the request as if they're their parents. So
So I would take that up. I completely agree that work-life balance is a big challenge, and it's something that many of us are struggling with. But I would like to take that answer more towards like my own research and ambition that I have in my field of research. So imagine that we would have a very simple blood test that would be able to diagnose any type of cancer very much early on, that any imaging technology can detect that, when you can also have some sort of preventive strategies. And this is something that I'm inspired about. And I have been working on what we call the liquid biopsies, or simple blood tests, to, in a non-invasive way and easily detect signs of complex diseases such as cancer. Of course, that requires a lot of resource, that requires a lot of multidisciplinary efforts, and a lot of sort of money on top of that to be able to run that, and policy sort of to be changed to be able to adopt that into clinics. But I don't see that a very long-term achieving dream. I think that with these multidisciplinary approaches, with the inclusion of AI very heavily in the field of medicine, it's not very far-reaching goal, and I bring for that time and try to achieve that.
And I have a professional one and a personal one. On the professional side, I really hope we can crack the responsible AI element. We're stepping into a time when it's actually very difficult to tell what's true, what's not, what's real, what's not. And I worry what that means for us over the, not even long-term short, even now, it's like you said, someone's parents calling. Of course you want to help your parents. So, if there is, like, spam filters were developed for email, it's almost like we need this Aura spam filter for everything we see, because AI is so embedded in the world around us that we're actually not seeing a lot of manipulative patterns that might be used in advertising and experiences. So I do hope we can solve for that. And I know there's some fantastic research being done in that area to detect some of these dark patterns. But there's also another one, and I've been passionate about this one for a while, which is, I think we already have some innovation that we could use to be better today. But what I think holds us back at times is sweating the asset. The corporate notion of sweating the asset, or getting most ROI from the asset investment. I think about my experiences in when I was designing some business models for IoT manufacturers. There would be perceptions like, well, we've already invested in this factory, we're not going to be upgrading for at least 10 years until this is done, even though there's breakthrough technology that's going to help make it more sustainable or create better products. But on the profit and loss line, it doesn't make sense yet. Similarly, I remember when I was at university at UNSW, and I love the SunSwift car. I think it's called SunSwift. Yeah, the solar car, and my last name is Solar. And I had ideas that maybe that I should join that team. But I had these great ideas of, why don't we do more solar? Everything around should be solar. Like our building, anyway. These naive university ideas, which are fantastic because they're the ones that are going to change the world. But my dad was so frustrated when I started talking with him about this. He said, just so disillusioned with life. I was at university in the 70s, and we were even developing photovoltaic paint, and nothing happened. It just was not adopted. It didn't go anywhere. And so I really hope that we can crack this sweating the asset notion in the corporate space and return on investment from physical assets. Because I think it's slowing us down from doing better. I realize that might be a bit of a naive one, but sometimes you've got to step into that naive space to try and aim for a better future.
Amazing. So let us now just throw it to the floor. Does anyone have any question?
I'm happy to say something.
You want to introduce yourself, Ross?
I will. So I'm Ros Dubs, and the reason, have I got it right? Yeah. The reason I'm here is that Haris asked me to be on the advisory committee for the UNSW AI Institute. So I've never worked with AI, but obviously I am a company director, Stella, so I have an idea on sweating the assets. So I guess the reason I'm here is that I can ask questions about, you know, what's AI going to do? And thinking about, you know, I suppose my career, etc., and, you know, obviously children and all that sort of stuff. I mean, obviously over, you know, the decades, automation on its own has obviously helped us all. I do see AI as probably being the next big step in terms of improving that. But I think everything you've all said, it's all to do with how are we going to change the culture to accept certain things, etc., and to move things quicker. So on the question of STEM, for a start, I guess as a fellow of the Academy, one of the things I've done is we do things in schools, and my view has always been that you know, I think you got down, you did this at the early high school, and somebody was talking about years 5 and 6. To me, it's the parents we have to get to, because in fact a number of these attitudes come from the parents. And so if you could actually get people, you know, in perhaps years 2 and 3 or 1 and 2, when the parents are still supervising the homework, they can be seeing that what can be done in this sort of field. The Academy did take me actually to India once. So I was a few years ago, I went to Hyderabad because I'd been involved in a thing called SAGE, Science and Australia Gender Equity, which was all about bringing in more people or keeping the women, you know, in universities up higher. And sort of we had ideas, and in fact some of the scientists over there also had ideas, but we realized that we were coming up against something that is just so endemic, which is this gender leveling. You know, we thought, well, until a government comes in and fixes that, it's not going to work. So, you know, you say that's 20% now, it's better than it was, but that is going to take a time. So I just think, you know, we've got to keep going. We've got to keep trying to see what can we do to change things. The idea of medicine and personal medicine is absolutely fabulous. The last thing I'll say is that to me, STEM is absolutely, I mean, it's just so important. I also work with Australia's submarines, for example, so we could have nuclear ones next week, who knows? But we have not got enough people. Even if all the men got trained, you know, if we don't train the 50% of the women who are not in those engineering fields, and I don't just mean university trained, you know, a lot of the engineers in Australia are actually come through, and the support people come through the TAFE system. So whichever way they get trained, they've got to stay. And I mean, what I say to people in schools is, whatever you do, if you can avoid it, don't give up maths. Try and keep it going until you're in year 12. But certainly, I want to see many more women doing STEM, and I'll do whatever I can to help that. Thank you, Flora.
That's amazing comment, Ross. So can I just add one? Yes, Ross, incidentally, so Women in AI, we've been thinking about how can we really empower more females, right? So we've been working on internship programs and education tech literacy data literacy program. So we've been working about mothers, parents, right?
Yes.
Because if mothers not exposed with technology and AI,
right.
then it's really hard to guide their daughters about, you know, STEM, right? So from that, you know, early stage, it's really there's, you know, really challenges, and how to empower the mothers in this day of emerging technology.
I just think you have to start very, very young with their children. I mean, you know, they're already mothers. You can't just bring the mothers in for a, you know, a short course. You've got to, I suppose, get to them as parents of young children,
Yes.
and do it that way. And that, you know, hopefully they'll get encouraged. You know, I mean, a lot of you talked about confidence. That's mainly the problem that women have, is that they're perfectly capable, they're just not confident enough.
Correct. So stay tuned, because we are about to roll out returnship program, really you know, equipping the mothers returning from maternity leave or the career changes, and designing personalized course to really help them to become more data literate and tech literate and AI literate as well.
Okay.
So I'll share more details
Good
later.
luck.
Excellent.
I want to add another layer to this discussion that we've had, which is there was a great study done by the Department of Industry to explore parenting perceptions in STEM, as well as the perception of teachers, the perception teachers have of the STEM aptitude of their students. And there's a really interesting phenomenon that's surfacing in the data points, which is that students are saying that they are more confident in STEM than what the teachers believe them to be confident in STEM. And the same pattern was found in parents, that the parents thought their daughters were less confident in STEM. The self-rating was that, yeah, I actually liked STEM and I'm enjoying it. And so that is an interesting phenomenon. We're playing around here with, we're navigating perceptions as well as capability. Anyway, it's a fascinating study. It's on the website. If you Google something like parents talk to boys about STEM, it will come up.
You've all got such wonderful stories. Thank you so much for sharing. I would just love to broaden the audience for these stories. I think engagement is key. And I also think that tuning into where people are at in the cultural settings that they enjoy, like, you know, meeting people where they are, like say through gaming or through sport or through, you know, sailing, that's the key. And I think if you're talking about these things, it's more about living in the world as the world is changing, rather than having to frame it all in AI and tech, which might alienate people. It's just about living in the world as it is now. So I guess my challenge to you is, how do we get this conversation out of the STEM bubble and into the broader community? And that's what I would love to see.
No, certainly, I think, you know, when I reflect on that comment, right, certainly 2 decades in AI. So when I have a daughter who's 14 and a son who's 11, and when they were younger, of course, I got them into programming courses and got them exposed to Tinker, you know, for them to do those blogs and get sort of more. And as a mother, I thought, you know, it's the right thing for me to sort of encourage. But I do resonate with that comment, because one is getting mothers to get exposed, getting kids exposure, but to make that fun is critical to keep that sustained. And I found, like, with my children, it's been a little bit of a continuous influencing that I have to do to get them continuous, you know, to engage on that topic. And I think while they enjoy math and science, but programming, for example. So I think, yeah, the more you can sort of make that fun and engaging, and more you can sort of make it I don't know, some sort of family exercise as you think about mother, parent, and kid combination in some of these courses. But yeah, that'll be important to sustain that engagement.
I genuinely think, though, that most people couldn't care less about AI. They're much more interested in a practical thing. So everybody is now playing with ChatGPT because it's a thing. Hey, have you seen it? You can log on and you can use it, and you can do things with it. So that's the thing that we, you know, I'm having to. There's people now coming to me saying, "Explain to me what AI is." And I, you know, explain what AI is. I explain machine learning, deep learning, generative AI, and I've got a really good canned presentation today. but it's been, that interest has been sparked by a thing, a practical thing that they can use. And I think, you know, we all talk about AI because we're in it and we're passionate about it and we're using it in various ways. But I'm always reminded of something my old head of school used to say. Said it's always AI until it's in production, and then it's called something else.
That's good.
We'll have to take these 2 last questions, and then so you and I saw a hand.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maggie, and I'm from Interstate, Australia. So thank you, Rose and Diana, for the importance of our parenting. And I'm a parent myself. As we experience, parents may not be the best teachers, you know, even with very good intentions. And, you know, sometimes the kids just disagree for disagreeing reasons. Yeah, so I want to add another layer to that is, I think it's very important to have female scientists and leaders in the space with diverse background, advocating and educating young kids and teenagers, so they can be, they can broaden their visions, and of course engage parents, the way they were brought up and their education most of the time are out of date, so they need to be re-educated as well, because today's kids will be tomorrow's parents as well. So I think we should start young and with different means and different manners. But of course, parents' engagement is very important.
Excellent, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jasleen, and I'm a tech mom as well. I work for one of the banks. So first, I'd like to say thank you to UNSW for putting up such a great event on the occasion of International Women's Day, and a great panel. So I can resonate with a lot of the members of the panel over there. Being a working mom myself, and as Vicky mentioned that to maintain that work-life balance, it's a bit tricky, especially because I come I've got not much family support in a country because I come from India, like Sonal as well. So I've faced some challenges like, raising the kids, where I also have to focus on my career and how, the different career changes have affected my personal life, and also focus on my daughter. Actually, I've brought my daughter over here. And she's in high school. So coming back to Kate's point about, it's always important to have that conversation about AI and data and, how you can get your kids into that pretty early on, right? Like year 10 would be pretty late, but I would still think that it's never late, whenever you start. So basically, when I was looking for the, International Women's Day events, I came across this one because I thought probably, I could use, one arrow to shoot like exactly, because I could bring my daughter as well. Right now, she's at that stage where she's in year 10, and so she has to give an expression of interest for the subjects she needs to choose, and also like work experience wise, where she has to work for a certain company, and she's having a little tough time because of all the options that are available to kids these days in terms of what they can do. Like there's so many different options, right? So I thought I would use this opportunity not only for myself, because I'm also trying to make certain changes in my career path, because I'm in IT as well, but to move up the ladder, I want to upgrade my skills and education levels. So I was like, this will be a good chance. So hearing you ladies talk about, how we can use more of those, like for helping mothers as well, like parents, to educate them first, so that then they can, create that interest in the kids. So that's really commendable. So thank you. Just wanted to say thank you for that. And yeah, I think it's not too late as yet for my daughter. So thanks for that, Kate. But yeah, would love to have some feedback, like as to how she can, at this stage, like decide on the kind of.
I would like to just share something about my life choices when I was your age, because I loved history and all of that stuff. And so I dropped maths in year 10. So, and I didn't realize what I was doing then because I was a kid, but it limited all my choices for study in the future. So it was really great because all I wanted to do was a history degree, and I did anthropology and philosophy. It was really good for that. But afterwards, when I got into technology, I looked at doing technology things, and because I didn't have the maths, I didn't have the choices. So it would have been good if I just kept it up so I had more choice. Admittedly, I've got 3 masters now, so I'm probably fine. None of them are technology based, and I couldn't do those courses because I didn't have maths. So that's just something to think about.
It's the main message. Keep your maths
Keep
going.
maths.
Keep your maths.
There's no, okay, let's take one final question from Rita.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for your stories. It's been so wonderful to hear them all. What I've been really interested in is to hear how some of you have come from a background other than STEM. I really love the fact that we are now hearing more about STEAM, the connection with the arts being brought in. I love the fact here we've got the design, where it's not just about STEM subjects, it's also about the connection with AI, with art and design, and with other subjects. I worry sometimes that STEM is very limiting and as somebody mentioned, could be quite scary and off-putting. I also think that as we move into the future, we're really having to see that collaboration across disciplines to make sure we get real innovation. And I also want to hear your opinions as to how we can maybe lever that to get more engagement from women into the future in these kinds of activities.
So for me, I did keep 3 unit maths all the way through to U12, and I really did not like it. But I rediscovered that it was interesting when I connected it to something that was more experiential. And so you brought up how we can bring more folks into STEM, how we can bring more young women into STEM. For me, I love the creative arts. I just love that space. There's a fantastic master's that I did, which brought technology together with creativity. And it was a master's of interaction design and electronic arts. It actually makes me tear up because this master's was the first time I actually did something I loved in education. And for me, it's about finding the STEM in what you love. And so, you know, it might be oversimplifying it, but, you know, even cooking is chemistry and dancing is engineering. I think about all that weight and counter levers. So I think often we talk about STEM as this silo, but it's actually integrated in all of the things that we do every day. Various experiences. And so when I found it in the creative arena, you know, for my master's, I made interactive sleep cocoons. I made emotion sensing dresses. I made a robot that drew portraits. That was at the Powerhouse Museum. That was a playground of innovation for me. But I'd always thought of STEM as this dry topic. And it's not. In the real world, when it actually becomes a thing, it is connected to industry, use cases, experiences. And so that would be my tip, is find the STEM in what you love. And for me, it was just looking a little bit deeper to see that it's already in the creative spaces I was interested in. I just needed to break through that perception in my own self. And then I could actually take my creative interests even further with the technology, because it ended up being a creative tool for me.
I can agree with you more, right? Just find that passion. I have seen so many cases, 21 years in corporates, right? Seen so many cases when people follow their passion. I think that's really their way to do, if you will, right? People succeed. And also, I wanted to share something else from my corporate experience, right? You can start in science and technology, changing careers anytime. You know, it's not limiting to your, you know, what you study in university, what you study in your master's. It's not at all, right? We at IBM, we hire people with the different background. I work with people who have like a medical degrees. I work with people who study English literature, you know, it's just who study history, you know, philosophy, like all backgrounds, right? So don't think, you know, this is my background, this is, you know, my career path, right? Don't, you know, limit yourself to just, you know, what you study in university, right? It's just open up. There are companies out there, right? I assume most of young kids out of school will be working for somebody, right? So there are opportunities out there. It's certainly possible. You can switch careers. You can change what you do anytime.
So I make it very quick. I know everyone is ready to go. Just connecting that to the previous discussion in terms of parenthood and how we can make that sort of more bottom up or decentralized. I think it's quite important to make sure that our kids are also interconnected between different disciplines and different fields. My own experience, I have a young girl of 8 years old. She loves visual arts and she loves science and math. And she often asks me that, shall I be an artist or a scientist? And I said, they are not disjoint. And making that sort of bringing that into from that childhood, that she can be across diverse disciplines, connect them together. And this is where innovation basically grow up.
That's been really fascinating, very rich discussion. Thank you also for everyone here. One thing I like to actually encourage everyone, including myself, to do the message that has been coming through over and over again is to discover your passion, but also discover your fit. And these two will then, somehow will help you to understand where you go next. So let us thank all the panels again. Thank you.
Some special the AI solution company startup detecting using AI solution to detect the cervical cancer. We are trying to work to make the cervical cancer testing accessible to the females who's living in regional area in Morocco, Bangladesh, and all this village area. So we are really working hard. I met the CEO in Dubai, and we're thinking how can we bring more females and from more First Nations, refugee community areas females, and how can we empower to study and grow together, but at the same time, how to make this accessible, the testing to more people. So let's play the video, and then it will be the end of the session today. Thank you.
Hello everyone, it is a pleasure to be with all of you on this auspicious International Women's Day. And today we want to celebrate the accomplishments by all the wonderful women around the globe. Here is how we are doing by unleashing the value of AI in the healthcare industry. We are dedicated to empower women and the collective niche communities to become AI and data experts, innovators, and leaders. We encourage ethical applications and the responsible use of artificial intelligence. More importantly, we aspire to provide women and girls around the globe, especially in remote areas, with better access to healthcare through the adoption of AI. I do look forward for us to working together in the months and the years to come. I cannot wait to see all the doors we will open for women in the world. Thank you.